Assalamu alaikum, dear brother Mohammed Hijab.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, Jazakallah khairan, first of all, for this opportunity, for the for the excellent talk. So my question would be around the following. So as someone who went also abroad, I've studied in Egypt for some time, was quite shocked, that the people there in some ways are more Western than we are as people who have been born and raised there. So it kind of seems like, that this thought of liberalism and that we take it for granted that this is like the true ideology that everyone has to follow, and it seems like there's not really a counterweight to it. Even if we look at the heavyweights of the Muslim world, like Saudi Arabia or Pakistan, we even see like there where that these societies are strongly liberalizing, I would say.
Mhm.
And my question is, how do you think were they really able to manipulate us all? I would say this is like the biggest brainwashing campaign in the world, right? That they were able to convince us all with this kind of liberal kind of thought. My question is, how would you say did they manage to manipulate us all in such a way? Bearing in mind that this is really something from Morocco to Indonesia, it's like a very global phenomenon. It seems like we don't really have a lot of power to stand against it.
Yeah, if they won wars, and that's the main thing. Like, if Hitler won the Second World War, I would not be speaking to you in English, and maybe I wouldn't even exist because I'd be in Egypt or something. I don't know. Like, it's usually with these things is that they won wars at the right time, and that's pretty much the bottom line. They won wars at the right time. Historically speaking, America became a superpower. Obviously, it was in conflict after World War II with the Soviet Union in the Cold War up until like 92, 93, 94, which is 25 years ago. So America is a huge superpower, and it's different to a country like China. China is an economic powerhouse, but it does not have an exportable ideology, and it does not have the language. I mean, there's many things. English has become the lingua franca, of the entire world. So, and many countries were previous colonies to England, and obviously America itself was a previous colony to England, to Britain, to the United Kingdom. So, with the kind of groundwork already have been established, with the English language being given to the majority of, not the majority, but a large chunk of the human population, and then with the expansion of the American project in the 1930s in the age of isolationism, and then thereafter, after World War II and the defeat of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall, once again, German reference, all of those things really contributed to the fact that America, which is a country which has 13 times as much military spending as the next 10 countries combined, and a huge media outlet in the form of Hollywood and other things that they do now, and they're continuing to do. They have been active in being able to promulgate a religious political philosophy like liberalism, and that's really what it is, through the media, through conquest, through systematic war. They've had 11 wars since their inception in 1776. And that has been the main reason. They have won wars and that they have influenced people. Two things they've done in tandem with one another. And that is the reason. Once again, if Hitler had been, the Allied powers in the Second World War, maybe it would have been a fascistic form of liberalism that we would be talking about. So it's about that. I think that's the main. If there had to be one major defining reason, it would be military expansionism and winning of wars. And if there was another thing as well, it would be the fact that the English language was there in different countries because of colonialism. If you had to add two more things, okay, the Industrial Revolution in Britain, okay, which spread to the rest of the world. that was huge, because we're talking about steam trains and technology now. That was in the early 20th century. We had the first aircraft, which was actually invented in the United States, and all of those technologies came into play. And so obviously now they had different methods of dissemination, so they could do so more effectively. The invention of the television, the invention of the internet, all of those things which have favored the Western experience. One of them is the age of discovery. Obviously, you would know that America was not inhabited by white people. It was inhabited by Native Americans. And then Europeans went over there, and they literally found new land, and they called it, well, funny enough, Newfoundland, which is now still a staple part of the Canadian experience. And the whole of Canada has, been found and conquered, and whole of America has been conquered. So now we have 400 million Americans, and America is as big and strong as the entire European Union. So when you have human population proliferating in that way, and even South America in many ways became liberal because of this. Look at South America. Brazil is a huge country, 250 million people. I don't know how many people. Portugal colonized that country, made it liberal. Spain colonized Mexico. So we have South America being colonized, North America being colonized, becoming liberal democracies because their forefathers were Europeans who believed in that. Then you have the colonial experience. You have the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, the crumbling in 1924 of the Ottoman Empire. Then you have the winning of the Cold War by America, and you have continuous propaganda from then until now. It's like a 200-year project. So
yeah, I understand, but I kind of have the feeling. For example, I'm also originally Turkish. Yeah. When I talk to my relatives or with my cousins, they're also very Americanized and Westernized, and also a big chunk of them, I would say, apostates. I would say that they say, there's only one way or one place where we can see there's success for us. They say, because, we look at the Muslims, we look at the Middle East, and we can see failure after failure. And the only way where we can see success and progress is the West. That's why we want to become like them. I think,
how do you define? I mean, are we talking about GDP per capita? Are we talking about GDP? Are we talking about technology? Because I can get you countries which are steeped in religious traditions, like Japan, for example, that was not formally liberal, but then became one of the most influential countries. China, I mean, though they're capitalists, yes, but socially they're not as liberal. I mean, as the Americans are. They have a different experience. Their GDP is different, but that's even just talking about today. I mean, say this is a snapshot of history. Like, how long has civilization been around for? Civilization has been around for 6,000, 7,000 years. The first human civilization is probably the Indus River civilization, and then Mesopotamia, and then the Egyptians, and then all of these civilizations, and the Romans, and then the Greeks. First, and all of those things. For how long have the Westerners been in charge of the entire world? And if you think about it, and there was times where the Western experience was being overshadowed by the Islamic experience, and they referred to those as the European Dark Ages and the Golden Years of Islam. So if you want to make up an argument, that it's correlatable, it's okay. Well, we've had our times as well, which has spanned hundreds of years, thousands actually of years, where Islam was in charge of Spain to China. And all these things. So we can make those arguments, but it's not a way to find out the truth of an ideology. So it's had success, or its country has had success, because almost everyone's had success. The Christians have their heyday, the liberals have had their heyday, the Muslims everyone's had their heyday. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. The Quran even says that, and these are the days that we alternate between the people. You win one day, you'll lose another day. You're never going to win every day. And as Ibn Khaldun, he mentions his muqaddimah, it's the rise and fall of empires. And usually when empires fall is when they become extravagant and lavish and so on. And look, America has been a superpower for 25 years. Before that, it was sharing superpower space with Soviet Union. 25 years in the historical landscape is nothing. 25 years is, and probably they're going to lose their superpower, status. Maybe in the next 25 to 50 years. There's already countries that are competing with them. China is now, there's discussion in political science that is China going to overtake America? I mean, when the Muslims were in charge, they were in charge for hundreds of years. We're talking about when the Chinese were, the Mongolians, hundreds of years. So they are a young superpower, and they seem to be, if we're going to take the trajectory that is leveled out for us in Ibn Khaldun, where he says that the empire starts quite strong and then it stabilizes and then it falls when they become more lavish and complacent. It seems like America is already at that point where there's a decline. So we have to put things in their right perspective and show these people that even though your argument makes no sense, it's not even true. Because the argument doesn't make sense that, okay, just because a country's official ideology is X, that means X, and the country's economically or militarily successful or technologically successful, doesn't mean that X is true. But that's one argument which is false. But even though it's false, we can say, well, actually, Islam has had these moments, which is referred to in the Golden Age, and they've spanned for much longer periods of time, militarily and scientifically and technologically, than the superpower you call America. So once again, it's picking and choosing. And as the Quran actually deals with this matter by saying, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, these are the days we alternate between the people.